Welcome to the Four Visions Market Podcast, a space built on the principles of integrity and reciprocity. Together, we will engage in thought-provoking conversations about plant medicines, why these plants are coming out of the rainforests, jungles, and mountains after thousands of years, and what it means to be in right relationship with the ancestral wisdom cultures and guardians of these traditions. I'm your host, Mariah Ganessa, founder and director of Four Visions Market. This podcast is the natural evolution in our commitment to providing you, our tribe, with incredible resources to support you on your healing journey through plant medicines. Welcome home. Hello, Four Visions tribe, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Four Visions podcast. So grateful and excited to be here today with Rome from Mycology Psychology. Rome Shadanloo is a psychedelic therapist and the founder of Mycology Psychology, an alternative health community. Their mission is to empower you to heal yourself through the intelligence of nature, not through authority or judgment, but from the inside out. Rome studied holistic psychology and has a focus in psychoneuroimmunology, working to ease chronic pain rooted in the emotional life of the mind. Rome's practice includes the various modalities of internal family systems, reparenting work, quantum healing, and she is a certified death doula. Her desire to be of service led her to a life in mental health, and from an early age, Rome found herself called to be in connection with those in struggle. Rome majored in holistic psychology at Lesley University and went on to do extensive work in the field in a variety of roles at Proposition 36 rehab facilities that specifically serve the incarcerated and formerly incarcerated, including on-the-spot counseling for those in urgent crisis. Rome was born in Tehran, Iran, and fled the tragic conflicts there for the U.S. at the age of 2. Her family settled in Los Angeles, where she currently resides and practices. She has a deep interest in the multifaceted, groundbreaking modalities that are currently changing the way we view and treat mental health. She works with people of all ages and in various stages of need. I just want to give a very warm welcome to you, Rome. Thank you for being here on the show. It's great to connect, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored that you asked, and I'm super happy to be here and share about us, who we are, and our why.
Amazing. Yes, I love it. And I love how through these podcasts, I get to have these incredible conversations that really bring to light many different backgrounds, perspectives, and the cross-sectionality of the plants and the fungi and how we can just weave together and learn so much from them. And so it's been beautiful to watch Mycology Psychology grow, and I'm very excited to learn more about your platform and the work that you guys are doing. And so, yeah, let's get started. Let's jump right in. I would really love to get to learn first and foremost a little bit about you and your journey, and how the mycelium first called you and the role that they played in your own healing journey, as well as the vision that was birthed through you to support people through the sacred medicine of the fungi.
Absolutely. I'm happy to share. I guess for me, anything that I, am in service of with people, it's something that I've gone through personally. To me, yes, I went to school and, I have various forms of training, but my experiential learning has been the most valuable and, has helped me connect to people from heart to heart. And I think that at the end of the day, lack of connection is where a lot of people end up falling into addiction, depression, anxiety, because they've lost this connection with their heart and therefore lost the ability to connect to another's heart. So, I lived that way for a really, really, really long time. And it was incredibly, incredibly painful to live that way. I was, as you mentioned, I was born in Iran. I was born during a bombing. My dad was a political prisoner. So it was a very chaotic start to life. And, I see birth as a very important um, part of the formation of the nervous system. And it's really our first abandonment and our first trauma is leaving the womb. And so having a more gentle landing, you know, is always welcome when you're coming into this world. So, it started out that way. And for a long time, I didn't understand why I had to be the immigrant kid, why my family had to have post traumatic stress disorder, why I was different. And what I found is that, if you don't have a wound, then you'll never experience what it's like to heal. And I'm not saying I'm healed 100%. The healing continues. It's a lifelong process, but it's really beautiful to compare where I'm at in my journey now to where I was before in my journey and just see that, there's been so much that's been processed. And I don't believe that I would be here without plant medicine. Plant medicine was the only thing that helped me drop my protectors enough to connect with my heart and to connect with other people. And so for that reason, because it gave me so much, I remember there was a moment where I promised to give back and help it get out there into the world, into the nervous systems that it wants to get into. And I say that because I feel like there's this illusion that we pick the medicine, but I think that it also picks us too. I think it's bidirectional. My biggest why, I have to say, is the failure of the medical system, mental health care, and psychiatry. Um, we have a lot of clients with autoimmune disorders. I have autoimmune. There's been a lot of medical malpractice. There's been, I was put on every single medication, stabilizer, SSRI you can think of throughout my teens and my 20s, and even my early 30s. It gave me a great background into pharmacology because, again, this experiential learning is pretty hard to forget. And then, being able to look back on all of that and see it as education is a really wonderful reframe and has put me in touch with my Dharma. And, you know, I don't believe that trauma just disappears, but I do believe your relationship to the trauma changes and it doesn't overpower you anymore. And in fact, you can alchemize it into various superpowers, various talents, various ways to be of service in the world. And that's really the framework that I bring when I work with my clients.
I love that. It really is this opportunity, to transform the bitterness into sweetness and to find the way that our story and what we've lived becomes an ally or a tool in our toolbox that we can call upon because that life experience gave us who we are today. It also gave us teachings and wisdom that we can extract, right? And it's like this digging process that we have to go through to be able to, like you said, alchemize and really see what is the information that exists for me in whatever trauma or experience that I went through, and how do I transform that so that I can be in relationship with it rather than pushing it away or trying to make it disappear, right? That part of who we are, that story that we have, it's who we are and it's made us who we are. And so to find that place of embracing all aspects of ourselves and being open to seeking and finding those gems and pearls of wisdom that lie in the challenges of life and even the traumatic experiences as well. This is a beautiful study, I would say, as well as part of what is
Mhm.
makes for a master of life and makes for someone who's an artist of their life rather than letting their life run them. So I love that
Oh,
that's where you went with that, because I do feel like that's truly one of the most potent parts of an empowerment process. So thank you for bringing that to our conversation.
thank you. I love artists of life because we really are the creators. You know, I, And that doesn't mean, everything's always gonna go our way perfectly. In fact, it means things are not going to go our way perfectly. That's actually what it means, and we get to create out of whatever happens. And I think one of the most important things for me that I've learned is to not look back on the former versions of myself with judgment. It's hard sometimes. It's hard when I compare myself to her, me 10 years ago, me 15 years ago, and shame will pop up, cringe will pop up. And I guess the good news is if you're looking back on your former self with a little bit of like cringe, it means you've come a long way. But I don't think the arc is complete until you can look back on your former self with compassion and look back on your former selves as various forms of your teachers,
Mhm. Mhm.
because we should
Beautiful.
reject no part of ourselves. We're not broken. We're the only thing wrong with us is that we don't know that there's something not anything wrong with us.
I do feel that the plants and the fungi are these incredible portals to helping us feel that in our totality and to know that within our beings, this essence that everything is okay and that we're perfectly part of creation and we have our unique design. So, this is something that is very universal for anyone who goes down the path of healing with plant medicine. And I would love to hear a little bit more about your journey with plants and how it led you to create this platform that you are now in service to through Mycology Psychology.
Absolutely. This is the fun part. I the first time that I sat with mushrooms, I was 17 years old. And I did it with a friend, in my bedroom. My parents were supposed to go out for the night. They left. We're like, we have the house to ourselves. We took the mushrooms, and an hour later, we didn't feel anything. And I was like, we've been ripped off. Whatever. We're 17. We don't know what we're doing. My parents came home. They decided to turn around. And I was so relieved that we didn't actually take psilocybin because they were home. My mom walked in the room and she started stroking my hair and asking me how my night was going. And then boom, it hit me. And my mom's hair started dancing. It was really, really awkward because I looked to her and I said, "You have to leave. I'm on mushrooms." Her response, because at the time she didn't you don't know what you don't know, was to call my psychiatrist and get trazodone, drive to the pharmacy. She had it in her hand within 2 hours. She came in my room and she made me take the trazodone, which interrupted the trip. We laugh about that now because now she is totally on board with the mushrooms and sits with them and receives messages from them. It's really helped my family. So, going back to my journey with medicine, you know, after that, I didn't use the mushrooms intentionally when I was 17. It didn't really work out for me. And I fell into drug addiction for many, many years. And I got sober at the age of 21, which is when I was finally able to legally drink. So I had blown it by then. And, I was in Alcoholics Anonymous for 15 years. I would barely even take an aspirin. I had my wisdom teeth taken out and I tried to get through it with aspirin because I was so rigid about my sobriety. And 15 years in, over 50 sponsors in, I had done the 12 steps maybe 6 or 7 times. They helped me, but there was still something missing. Um, Alcoholics Anonymous gave me community and it gave me a chance to get out of my own head. But unfortunately, I was disembodied through the entire thing. And I was still having panic attacks. It was a lot of white knuckling. And 15 years in, I found myself just having a lot of suicidal ideation because I didn't understand why I had done all of this work and I still felt so much trauma in my body. um, why I was having a hard time connecting, why I was, uh, constantly anxious, so many things. And I remember I was laying in bed on my laptop and I was like Googling, like, what do you do when there's nothing else? When there's nothing left? And something about ayahuasca came up. And this was during that time and in my circle revolutionary because I knew that if I went to go seek this medicine, there was a really good chance that I was going to lose my community. that I was going to lose my tribe, so to speak, right? I don't know why. I don't know where I got the courage to go do it. I think I was just so sick and tired of being sick and tired. I think I had hit a bottom in sobriety that felt bigger than my bottom in drug addiction, and I no longer cared. So, my mother helped me buy a plane ticket to go to Peru and go sit with this medicine, knowing that I was gonna go take psychedelic medicine, knowing that I was in recovery, but she knew how much I was suffering, and she's very connected. She just helped me go, and I went, and I remember this one moment that I think changed the entire trajectory of my life, which was I felt such deep gratitude to the medicine. I could feel it healing me, and this woman came over and she put her hand on my shoulder and just started petting me and telling me I was doing amazing, and suddenly there were 8 hands petting me, and suddenly it was an octopus, and the octopus said, "I am your mother, and I have 8 hands, and I can take care of you and myself and everything else, don't worry." And I just wept because that's what I wanted throughout my whole childhood. I came back a really, really different person. It was a 180, and I don't know this doesn't happen every time, right? It was really I got a lot out of it. It was exceptional, and the ayahuasca kept showing me mushrooms, and I didn't understand at the time why. So now looking back on it, I see that the ayahuasca grandmother really blessed me with such a big experience and showed me the mushrooms because she was preparing me to do this work. And I feel so blessed and so honored. And, you know, one dharma is not better than anybody else's dharma. We all have a role on this planet and we're all important. I'm just so happy I got this one because I feel like it's so fun and it's so connected and there's no bullshit and there's no small talk, which I'm not very good at anyway. Right. I came back. I was an actress. I was, in Hollywood for a long time, and I felt like I didn't like auditioning anymore. Something in me changed. And, I went back to Peru. I sat with ayahuasca again. This time we got attacked. We actually got attacked by some of the villagers. They came in, they were drunk. They had rocks. They beat up our shaman. I thought I was going to die on the medicine. You would think that would traumatize me, but it didn't. Um, it ended up being one of the best things to ever happen to me because I came back and I dove even deeper into this work. I dove even deeper into my healing. I dove even deeper into how the medicine works. I really believe that the medicine brought that situation in. I think the medicine is not just ayahuasca, psilocybin, all these entheogens. They are sentient and they they work in the quantum and they offer experience that we can create. Now, I'm not saying that this is a common thing that happens, but this was my experience. So I sat with medicine again, and this time the medicine very, very clearly showed me, this time it was psilocybin, that I need to quit what I'm doing and go back to school and pay this gift forward. So I read something recently that was pretty great. It was like if someone gives you a gift and your reaction is to just give them a gift back immediately, it becomes transactional. If someone gives you a gift and you pay it forward, then it's really a gift, right? And so that's how I felt. I wanted to pay it forward. I went back to school. I studied holistic psychology at Lesley University, very ahead of their time. During that time, we got to talk about psychedelics. Then the pandemic hit when I was a few electives away from graduating. I came back. I started doing my continuing education online. But then mycology psychology started. And before I knew it, because there was such a need for this medicine during the pandemic, I was busy. I was working practically 10 hours a day and was not able to go do those electives. But at this point, I became very clear that I didn't need a piece of paper to be in my Dharma. And it's 11:11 here. I didn't need that piece of paper to be in my Dharma. And just started serving from the heart, and people came and there was a need for it. And I had learned through my journey that we don't heal when we are under authority. That was part of the reason that I was not farther along in my healing journey, because I was working with psychiatrists that were the authority. I was working with sponsors that were the authority. I was working with doctors that were the authority. And this kept me so disconnected from myself. It was disempowering, and a lot of trauma comes from feeling disempowered. So how are you going to heal disempowerment with disempowerment? You can't. So, that's one part of our mission statement, is to not heal with authority. It's we're co-pilots, we're a team. I don't know what it's like to be you. I can maybe have some empathy. I can say, "Oh, I've been there." But at the end of the day, you're the only person that's going to walk in your shoes. You're the only person that's going to be in your nervous system, right? And so we meet people where they're at. And in the beginning, microdosing, we start with a protocol so that you can develop a relationship with the medicine, but we always, always, always encourage people to eventually develop an intuitive relationship with the medicine, with microdosing, because that's kind of almost the final stage of getting really embodied. Today's a day I feel like the medicine's saying yes to me. Today's a day, no, I don't think I should microdose today. That's how you know that you've tapped into your intuition. But in the beginning, and for neural plasticity, and for, you know, uh, regeneration, and, all sorts of things, practice, making every morning ceremonial, not every morning because you shouldn't microdose 7 days a week. But getting into a practice is the beginning part. But the end game is for you to rely on your own intuition.
Mhm. Thank you so much for sharing your story, Rome. It's very beautiful and inspiring and really is full circle. And I think resonates with anyone who has found themselves in the depths of their own darkness, this heroic journey of being able to find your own strength and empowerment and then find your service and your dharma. It's really very beautiful. And really, I do feel that a big cause of separation, depression, disconnection comes from this not having the encouragement and the societal values that support us in following our intuition from the very start and being connected to this place of
Yeah.
potential and possibility. So many people in their healing journey, a big part of it is discovering purpose, right? I mean, I think that's a pretty pivotal role in a
Yeah.
healing journey, and really does bring everything full circle, and to have that in our lives. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we have reached our fullest capacity, right? Because that can take years, and many of us don't even get there until the later stages of our lives, or not every life. But to have this sense of purpose, where we're feeling we're part of something, where we're feeling we're making a difference, these are fundamental in mental health and well-being. And so it's really beautiful to hear your own journey with that, and then how others are doing the same through your offerings and through your community that you're building. So I love that. And yeah, I'm very curious. You had mentioned that that journey down to Peru was a big decision that you knew potentially would isolate you from your friends and community in AA, and the ones that you had had through your healing from addiction journey. And so I'm curious, as you stepped into your work with the fungi and the building of your network and your platform, if you circled back, and if you ever found, a crossroads or a return to be in service to the addiction community and those who suffer with addiction.
What a great question. Yes. That was the perfect follow-up question. Yeah, so, I mean, no surprise, I was not I was not embraced when I came back from, sitting with ayahuasca by many, many people, and I just to the point where I just didn't go to the meetings anymore, and I kind of dropped out. And I may have lost that community, but I gained myself. So I didn't really care. That's the thing. I could sit here and say I was hurt and this and that, but I didn't care at all. I felt happy, and nothing was going to take that away from me. And plus there was a few people in the program that had known me very long time and supported me. It was just the larger community wasn't ready for that. Um And, many years of, certain people thinking I was a pariah for turning to plant medicine. There's a lot of stigma. And then after Mycology Psychology was born and started getting out there, I started having a lot of people from AA reaching out to me about microdosing. And it made me so happy because, it was just kind of I felt like I've been waiting for you guys. And it's important to say that Bill Wilson, a co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, they talk about him and Dr. Bob in the Big Book. They founded AA together in Akron, Ohio. And they say that Bill Wilson had a sudden spiritual awakening that helped him get sober, and that Dr. Bob had an awakening of the more educational variety. And many, many people in the program were like, oh, I guess I'm getting the educational variety one, where like you come into the program, you go to meetings every day, you get sober feet, you do the steps, you help people, and over time you start getting better. But a lot of people were chasing after Bill Wilson's experience. They're like, what is this elusive, sudden spiritual awakening? And I would see sometimes people almost pretending to have that. They wanted it so bad, um, that they were convincing themselves, I'm on a pink cloud, I'm doing amazing. And then they would go use. Um, Came to find out that the sudden spiritual awakening that Bill Wilson had, he was talking about his psychedelic experiences that helped him quit drinking. And he wanted LSD to be part of the program. He wanted it to be the 13th step where you do all the step work, which is the prep work, and then you sit with the medicine. Everyone told him he was out of his mind. So of course that never happened. Now what the 13th step in Alcoholics Anonymous means is when you sleep with someone who's newly sober. So, we could have had it so much better than that. I'm not saying that psychedelics are the solution for every addict. I don't believe it is. So I think maybe it's better that not everybody was required to do that. It's a little Timothy Leary. Um, but I do think that, after having a lot of time sober and doing your step work and really putting in the work, um, this could be excellent supplementation to your recovery, if you're going in it with the right intention, because intention is everything. Yes, I was very, very curious about what ayahuasca was like, but that was not the primary purpose of me sitting with her. My primary purpose was desperation. I needed help and I didn't know where else to go. And she helped me. And the mushrooms have helped me throughout the years in almost an even larger way, because it's the microdosing helps me be in my life on life's terms day to day. It's not me in the clouds, floating around with God. It's not all of those, external fractal type of experiences, but it's helped me find a God in my heart. And for me, God is love. That's my God. It's not a God of any religion. Um, when I feel love in my heart, I know I'm feeling God. When I see a really beautiful sunset, I'm feeling God's majesty. When I'm, interacting with animals, I am God, you're God, we're all God. That's what the medicine has shown me. And it makes the fires that we have to walk through tolerable when you are connected to something higher than yourself and something within yourself. And there are fires. The psychedelics are not going to take away the external problems of your life altogether. It may improve them because we live in a mirror universe, and the more peace you have inside, the more peace you tend to have around you. But life is life, and we're here to learn, and we're here to make mistakes. How else are we going to learn? Right? For me, my goal is to always make new mistakes, not repeat the old ones. And if I can only make new mistakes, I feel like a success.
So true. It's this beautiful invitation to live life in totality and really step into that place of co creation with all of life. And mushrooms, for
Mhm.
me, have done the very same thing. And microdosing has been a fundamental pillar for me in choosing to live my life with intention and live my life with prayer. But I have to say, the most gratifying days are the days when I don't take medicine and I feel that connection already.
Right.
And I'm always so
Yes.
grateful to the plants because they showed me the way to feel that, and they helped me discover that feeling that was already there and that was already deeply part of my design and part of who I was. And so, why I believe plant medicines and fungi are so supportive is we have no context for discovering that on our own. And many people, they say to us, like, they'll criticize or they'll judge, and they'll say, like, you shouldn't need substances to be able to find that place. But the reality is, our society and the collective consciousness is so fragmented, and it's so hurt that there's no reference point. And so I really feel that working with the plant allies and the fungi allows a reference point from which we can then start to cultivate that deeper connection with ourselves, with nature, with all of life. And of course, each person's journey is so different, and we can't speak for all people. But if one goes to the plants with an open heart, and one really has that intention for betterment, for healing, for improvement of the way in which they're experiencing their life, the gifts come and the messages come and the wisdom comes. And it's such a beautiful thing to witness and be a part of. And I love hearing how you're speaking about it too, because there's so much resonance there, right? And it's just like this beautiful remembrance process. And like you said, it's not right for everyone. I think that when we talk about master plant allies, visionary plants, and fungi, one does need to have a certain level of stability, to mental stability and emotional stability, to be able to work with these tools in a way that's supportive. And also the container is very important, which, I'd love to hear you talk about a little bit about how your platform helps people to better understand, what it means to not have their experience be like what your first experience was, because that's pretty much like the full end of the spectrum that we don't want people to have to experience, right? And so that's why platforms like yours and ours exist, to help educate and support people in understanding, what it takes to have an encounter that is supportive and nourishing and uplifting, and actually going to help you in your journey. That being said, and maybe you want to, talk a little bit about that yourself, and I'll leave that open to you. But I also am very curious, as well as how you approach, the concerns that people have about mushrooms and or any type of psychedelic or plant medicine, and sobriety, because this is something that is really misunderstood, and there's a lot of stigma around it. And of course, there's going to be certain people in the recovery communities that are more open, but then there's a lot of people who desperately want to heal, but they have so much mental fog, and just really, it's like brainwashing, and so attached to ideologies and concepts that they're not allowing themselves to see the simple truth that we are part of nature, and these plants are part of us, and we are not doing anything out of the natural order to partake and commune with nature. But I'm curious to hear in your own words how you go about explaining that to someone, as well as I feel like it would be very supportive for our listeners, because we all have loved ones who, we know could definitely benefit from working with plants and fungi. And they have so many stigmas and beliefs that they've cultivated for many, many years about how these are drugs. And so I feel like it's always helpful to, improve our verbiage and our vocabulary of how we can better explain this to people when they have such a severe, conditioning around it. Taking a quick break from today's conversation to share with you a short message. Let's talk about plant medicine integration. Integration work is the action taking and the grounding into the fibers of our beings, the ancestral and cosmic wisdom that the plants give us. It is the manifestation of every vision. When we do it well, it becomes the true ceremony, the ceremony of life. The 4 Visions Plant Medicine Integration Program was created to support you in learning how to cultivate the unique process of translating the healing and wisdom received from the plants into your daily life. Our personalized, self-paced learning platform was developed to suit each person's unique availability and commitment levels, with as much hands-on guidance and support or autonomy as you are needing and wanting. Our in-depth curriculum is comprised of a robust digital content series live monthly workshops, private spiritual consultations, and community connection. Our faculty is made up of renowned spiritual teachers, Indigenous wisdom keepers, and integration specialists, each with unique backgrounds and decades working with the plants. We created the curriculum we wish we had had years ago when beginning our plant medicine journeys. Some of the topics we cover throughout the program are immediate integration basics, cultivating your spiritual practice, building a plant allies toolkit, how to make spiritual payments, how to deepen your connection with plants, working with hape, sananga, and cacao as allies, the foundations of microdosing, the art of forgiveness and reconciliation, spiritual hygiene, and plant diets. If you feel called to cultivate your integration practice or are interested in nourishing your spiritual studies and deepening your relationship with plants through a one-of-a-kind transformational container, we welcome you to visit fourvisionsintegration.com to learn more and sign up. And now back to today's show.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And I just wanted to touch really quickly something you said that I've been hanging on to, which is, when you can feel that in your heart on your off days, and that really speaks to, microdosing their training wheels. Our goal is for people to not have to microdose with us forever. But um, going back to how do I address, the skeptics, the people that have that programming, that conditioning, who buy into the taboo around psychedelics, especially in the recovery community and otherwise. What my first ayahuasca told me very clearly was don't tell them, show them, right? So your own healing is going to attract people to the medicine because they're going to see the change in you. You don't need to advertise, you don't need to convert people, right?
Mhm.
So
Preach.
I live like that. But when people come to me and they're like, I am on the fence, and how is it different? What I say is this: drugs are for escaping, medicine is for connecting. And that is the most succinct way that I can put it. And if you keep escaping yourself, there's going to be a buildup in your body and your psyche, right? And eventually you're going to get either physically ill or mentally ill, develop depression, anxiety, because you're not facing it, right? These medicines help you face it. These medicines help you connect to it. For whatever reason, the universe has dictated that we have to metabolize things. That is just the way we're meant to be, but we're not taught that in society. It's take a pill and cover it up. Take a pill and cover it up. Now, I want to say something. I am not against people taking SSRIs if they need to take them. I think they're all different frequencies, and we don't live in indigenous cultures anymore. We don't live in nature anymore. So the vocabulary of our bodies have changed a little bit too. However, I think that it's interesting how people are so so on board with, yeah, write me a script, I'll go to the pharmacy, I'll take this pill, where at the bottom of the commercial it's like it may cause death and for you to bleed out of your eyeballs. It doesn't happen to that many people, I'm fine. But when it comes to microdosing, because of the taboo, even though it's one of the safest things on the planet, I would say maybe the safest, um, there's still hesitation. And, after I have a conversation with someone and I'm explaining to them, look, I did years and years and years of therapy. I've been in therapy since I was 9 years old. Years of therapy, years of self work, years of all of it. I did everything. I worked my ass off for my mental health. Not until I took this medicine was I able to embody all of the work I did, because it was all stuck only up here. Right? And if you can't connect to it in your body, then you can't live it, right? So I wasn't living what I was preaching. So the other thing I want to say is, you know, the universe gives us lots of lessons, lots of hardships. It's part of being human, but the universe balances itself. It also gives us music, dogs, cats, and mushrooms. These are helpers. These are keys that are growing out of the ground for us to pick and unlock ourselves with. And we're missing the point of how nature works. We're missing the point. We're being given a gift and we're stepping right over it. Why? Because we've been conditioned this way. And I don't want to get overly political, but we've been conditioned this way because there's money to be made off of our illnesses. It's back like Deep Throat said, follow the money.
So true. And I think that, one of the best ways that I like to explain it to people when we talk about really embodying and taking full advantage of what these plant teachers and fungi have to offer us is literally these medicines gave their life for us to have this ceremony to ingest them, to commune with them. And so the best way to be in right relationship with them and nature is to embody it and go forward into our lives and bring beauty, go forward into our lives and bring change to our lives. Because that is truly the ultimate offering, is when we can walk our lives and have our life expression transform and radiate from this place of connection that we feel from working with the plants. And it's really like the best way to give thanks and to say thank you for this gift. So I'm all about it, and I love these medicines, and so grateful to be able to share them with so many people, because for how many skeptics there truly are so many people out there who are curious and open and ready. And I feel like we are at this very exciting time in humanity's evolution and in the collective consciousness, and to be stewards of companies like Four Visions and Mycology Psychology at this time. It's such an incredible honor and gift, right? And to be living in 2024 and be a part of this unfolding landscape and educating people and providing access it's really such a beautiful blessing. So it feels really aligned to be here in this conversation right now. And I would love to hear more about your platform, your community, what offerings you provide for people, and how people can learn more about your work.
So there's this, I believe it's an Alan Watts quote that says that your eyes are on your face, so you can't see your own face. Um, and I think that just kind of speaks to like we're very disconnected, from ourselves in society today. So you don't have a reference point when you start taking these medicines by yourself, right? You don't know that sometimes some of the visions are metaphorical. You shouldn't actually go do that thing. Or
Yep.
maybe you need to wait before you make that decision. Right? Um, or with microdosing, sometimes people get a little confused because once in a while, someone will tell me, like, oh, it's making me irritable. Therefore, I should stop taking it. Right. Because it's being advertised as a mood enhancer. I mean, we're guilty of it too, because it does enhance mood. It does. But once in a while, it will bring up some shadows, and those shadows need to be metabolized. So if you're irritable, right, and you don't know any better, you'll just stop taking it, right? If you're speaking to a microdosing coach or a facilitator, they can ask you questions. They can really lead you to some wisdom in your own life, as in, well, what in your life is actually irritating you? What's out of alignment that you were not in touch with before, but your body's in touch with now, right? There's gold to be harvested there. Oh, I'm realizing I don't like my job. That's why I'm irritable. And I didn't realize that before because I was so disconnected. Now I'm connected and I know that. So when something like that happens, there's a fork in the road. You can either make that change or you can pause microdosing because you know that you are not ready to make that change, right? There's people who are like, oh, this has made me tired. Well, you are exhausted. You're probably not getting good sleep and it's trying to guide you in that. And then we can say, why don't you try taking it at nighttime and really use it to your advantage, right? So working with a microdosing coach can help you in a lot of practical ways, but also having a conversation with someone before you go into this medicine is part of the medicine. This is what I'm looking to get out of it. These are my intentions. This is my agenda. This is what I want, right? You're putting it out there. And I always say that psychedelics are like a DJ at a party, right? You can make requests and they'll probably play your song, but if they don't, it's because they've determined it's not the right song for the whole room. right? It's not right for the moment. So in this way, they give you what you need more than what you want, but you learn to want what you need when working with it long enough. You're like, "Ah, I recognize this. This is such an opportunity. This is such an opportunity." It goes so beyond mood enhancement, right? And even with these shadows coming up for some people, they notice that still they're not precipitating on them. They're not looping. They're just feeling it and then they're processing it and it's going through them. And through that, the fungus teachers, the mushroom teachers are teaching these people how to process so that one day they can just automatically process without having taken anything. And so when it comes to our container, you know, how it works is first of all, everybody is vetted, everyone's done and is continuing to do their own internal work, particularly shadow work. They're bringing their experience to the table. They are really beautifully in integrity, and we have such an amazing community of practitioners. We meet every week. Mycology Psychology provides free education to all practitioners, meaning we have guest speakers come in, they have free access to our courses, they participate in our courses. We've collected data over the past 3 years. We've learned a thing or two about different strains and tendencies with different nervous systems. We have a community call. This is very important. We have a community call the second Saturday of every month. And this is a place where you can come in and we do a short meditation or some short breath work. And we're there to answer all questions about microdosing for those who can't afford, to have their own personal coach, we want to make this accessible to everybody. We are a little bit more high end in our product. We go through to great lengths to make sure our product is extremely clean and to keep this container together. But if somebody is struggling, we always offer, assistance. My favorite thing about this container is truly the practitioners. And so I'm also very proud of the system we've put together. There's a lot of checks and balances. So I feel in my heart we're extremely responsible in the way that we approach this medicine. um, you go on the website, you fill out a form. This form will ask you, are you on medication? Do you have any heart issues? What is your medical history? What brings you to this medicine? What do you want to improve in your life? What do you want to let go of? All of the questions. Once you submit the form, you get a link. You click on the link and it shows you the list of practitioners that you can have a free consult with. We have everything from licensed therapists to shamans because it's not one size fits all, right? And sometimes people like to work with multiple people. They like a multi-pronged approach. They go over the protocol with you. We vet you. We make sure that you're a good candidate. People who are not a good candidate would be, people who have schizophrenia, have been hospitalized for manic episodes, and anyone under 18, which I understand that in indigenous cultures, children sit with mushrooms, and I wish we could do that, but we still live in this three-dimensional American reality and have to be a little bit careful. My second favorite thing is the intentionality behind the blends. They were channeled, and somebody who I met in Mexico helped me kind of put together all of this, the blends. And, there's a lot of reciprocity there. We have continuously supported them. And we also have um, the proceeds for our community call go to support Esperanza Mazateca in building the Maria Sabina Museum in Oaxaca.
So beautiful. I love to hear how you guys have structured and organized your offerings, and definitely does sound very comprehensive and a really tight container. So I applaud you and your team for that, because it's very, complex process to create and navigate many different layers. And yeah, there's it's an ongoing learning. We've been deep in that with our integration program that we developed last year, and it's really just constantly evolving and listening to the needs of our participants, and really meeting those needs and being willing to adapt and grow to be able to provide a service that is really so holistic and comprehensive for everyone, regardless of where they are in their journey and their needs at the time.
I'd like to say the thing that is the most one of my biggest driving forces is also it's a shame for someone to start microdosing the wrong way and then think, "This isn't working," right? And then they stop, and now they've given up 5 minutes before the miracle, and they may never come back to it. So, if you're new to microdosing, I really maybe with us, maybe with someone else, but really suggesting to do this as intentionally as possible to integrate, to prep, so that you have a solid foundation for your psychedelic journey moving forward.
Yes, that's so important. Appreciate you saying that. I was curious, Rome. I think our listeners would be very interested to learn a little bit more about the different strains and how to approach them and how to go choosing the strain that is most supportive for them and whatever they're going through. Would you be open to sharing a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So this is anecdotal. All of this evidence is anecdotal, but collected over the past few years. And it's not 100% of the time. You know how sometimes someone can take Adderall and because of their chemistry, they actually get calmer? And a lot of people take Adderall and they're bouncing off the walls. Same with an SSRI. You can take Prozac and you can start to feel better. And for some people, it makes them suicidal. But the tendency is for Adderall to give you energy, and the tendency is for Prozac to not necessarily improve mood, but numb you out enough that you think that you've had an improved mood. Um, so, same with the mushrooms, right? What we have found is that albinos tend to be better for anxiety and gold caps tend to be better for depression. And that's the most succinct way I can put it. It's a little bit more involved than that with certain strains, but I can't really speak on that. But if you're somebody who gets into freeze state a lot, right? Or for our freeze people, I would try gold cap. Now, you may be one of the people that has that opposite reaction, but the tendency happens to be that the gold caps are more expansive. They expand you out, whereas the albinos tend to be more of an internal and body heavy experience. So, also, we offer safe access to Wachuma and Amanita muscaria. Amanita is a different kind of mushroom. You probably know it from the emoji in your phone or Super Mario Brothers, my favorite video game. Um, so, the Amanita works on the GABA receptor. It's not a serotonergic like psilocybin. So it's a totally, totally different deal. We really love Amanita for severe, severe, severe anxiety because psilocybin is more of a non-specific amplifier. And Amanita tends to work a little bit more like what a Xanax would feel like, but it's natural. It's from the earth, and nature has given us this as a tool. We also work with Blue Lotus, and I gotta say, Blue Lotus is actually one of my favorite things that we work with. I I love dreaming. Sometimes I have trouble dreaming, and I remember the first night that I took Blue Lotus, I had a dream that I, saw an old friend that I hadn't seen in a long time, and we were hugging, and we were just saying, "I'm sorry" to each other. And I woke up and I realized that that this Blue Lotus is also extremely psychedelic, even though it works very differently. And Blue Lotus is also good for libido, opening your third eye, dreaming, sleep, all of that kind of stuff. And I have used Blue Lotus to get myself off of cannabis before.
Beautiful. Super interesting. You mentioned a few minutes ago an instance where you had recommended microdosing at night for someone who I think was having trouble sleeping, or I'm not sure. But for me, microdosing, it gives me a lot of energy. So it wouldn't be my first instinct to recommend microdosing for sleep or at nighttime. Could you explain a little bit more about the
Mhm.
instances where someone might explore microdosing at night?
Thank you for clarifying. So for you, nobody would recommend microdosing at night because it energizes you. So for you, it's breakfast, right? For the people who take the microdose and suddenly feel exhausted, Those are the people that are like, "I'm sorry, I can't function. This is a microdose, but I'm so tired." And that usually is the mushrooms trying to let you know that you need to rest or that you're not getting good quality sleep, right?
Mhm.
So for those people, and because this now we're going into the intuition piece where we work with it intuitively. Okay, so let's try it at nighttime. And so we've gotten reports of like, oh my God, my insomnia is gone. I'm sleeping really deeply. It really works for me at night. But for you, it wouldn't, right? For me, it wouldn't because microdosing energizes me as well. Also, for example, if someone is having a lot of stomach pain when they take mushrooms, right? Okay, so let's take a look at this. This could be energetic. You could be moving trauma. Trauma can express as nausea and stomach aches as well, right? It's moving
Mhm.
energy. But also, like maybe the mushrooms are letting you know that you need to change your diet or that maybe you need to go see a doctor, right? So, this is what I mean by mushrooms can also be very metaphorical. They can be diagnostic. They just serve so many functions. And they adapt to your needs, and on our end, it's our intention, it's the way that we work with our own intuition that can really make the rate of success higher, but getting there requires very often for you to also work with someone who can reflect you back to you and be a mirror for you. I know it's
Mhm.
been really helpful for me because, when fear and desire are involved in the beginning, it can be a little bit muddy.
Yeah, I love that because ultimately when we start this path of trusting and listening and opening ourselves to our intuition, the voice of our intuition is so quiet when we're first reawakening that connection. It's so
Oh,
quiet that
yeah.
we start to doubt it and start to, take those messages
Mhm.
and they, go in circles with them. So it is incredibly supportive to have someone who can be that mirror and soundboard and even help you verbalize or vocalize, like, okay, this is what I felt. Wow. Okay. I felt this. I'm saying this now. And just that process of vocalizing and verbalizing an experience is incredibly supportive for helping to really hone in and be able to navigate that. And then, as someone goes cultivating their relationship with their intuition, then it's a very beautiful thing to be able to work with the subtleties of plants and be able to do that investigative diagnosis between you and the plant yourself, but it does require a certain level of,
Yes.
an initiation training on some level to be able to trust yourself enough and cultivate that relationship with yourself enough. And because our society doesn't nurture that naturally, we're so disconnected from that place that having that container, at least at the beginning, to be able to, take those first steps and feel that in motivation, encouragement, and support, I can see how that's incredibly vital and important.
Yeah, and to your point, normally these first steps ideally would be taken in childhood. Learning to trust your
Totally.
intuition, learning to trust your body, right? But because of our society and because of the way many people parent, it's stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about.
Mhm.
Or, you don't feel that way. You're wrong. I'm the adult I know, right? And that's where I take it back to the authority piece when we're seeking help for our mental health. It's like we're going through that all over again. Instead of being like, this is how you feel, cry it out, listen to your body, listen to your intuition. This is meant to be taught to us at a young age, but that's just not how we're set up. So now we're doing it. We get to do this later in life. And why do we get to do this now later in life? Because we have the mushrooms to aid us in having the brain plasticity necessary to make these changes. The brain plasticity that we had when we were children, that we no
Mhm.
longer have, we can regain some of it doing this work and then learn to trust ourselves through that brain plasticity, getting your nervous system to a place where you can trust yourself. And also, to your point, it's a language to be learned, right? It takes time. You don't just take the pill and like, I'm totally intuitive and in touch with myself 100% of the time, all the time now. No, but and there's a but. The person that helps you initiate into this world has to be someone that's not coming from a place of authority, has to be somebody that is there to help empower you and get you in touch with your body. Like you, I don't believe in the word should, but like it would have been ideal a long time ago. The reason why should doesn't even register for me is because every step of the journey, in my opinion, happens for a reason. for our soul's purpose.
Yeah, I think that I'm happy that you brought it back to that point of the authority piece, which we opened the conversation with. Because as I'm speaking with you more and kind of getting to know you a little
Mhm.
bit, I'm understanding why that's such a pivotal point in your offering
Hmm.
and in your mission. Yeah, and it's really so beautiful because I work with people from a lot of different backgrounds who come to the plants, and everyone is at very different stages of their body confidence in regards to their sovereignty in their healing journey, because everyone has a different story and different journey of how many doctors they listened to and how many outside figures they listened to before they finally started listening to themselves, right? And so depending on our conditioning, depending on how our parents chose to handle health and wellness when we were growing up, from a common cold to more serious illnesses and health challenges, we all have our own relationship with the medical
Mm.
model. And so this beautiful this process, this theme of medical saviorism, for me, it's something that I love talking about, this process of really finding the healer within, for lack of a better word, because it's the removing of the shackles of very patriarchal system, authority-based system that does not have our best interests at heart, right? And you touched on it with the pharmaceutical model as well a few minutes ago. But this process that the plants give us as an access point, it's like taking the reins back. And even, with the most powerful shamans and wisdom keepers that I have sat with, they themselves never claim to be the person or the healer that heals their people that come, right? It's and any wise medicine person will say that they give you the medicine, they place the prayers, they hold the space, and they're there as an ally and a support for you to have a direct dialogue and connection with creation. And this is the most beautiful thing about nature and these sacred medicines, because they do provide us that opportunity to take our power back and to come back into what it means to trust ourselves and to listen to what our body's telling us. And this beautiful journey of coming home to that inner voice of wisdom, it truly is like, it's such a magical thing to witness in others and in ourselves as well. And it's this beautiful process of deepening in that self-trust and that it's very intimate, right? It's like this very intimate relationship, the most intimate one we have.
Very intimate.
And it's such a gift to experience it.
It really is, and I love what you just said about the intimacy of it, that you're the only person that you're going to be with for the rest of your life, every minute of every single day. The relationship you have with yourself is the most important relationship and will reflect in the relationships you have with others, and this medicine helps you have a better relationship with yourself, right? Trust the medicine, that phrase, "trust the medicine," means trust yourself too. And it means trust the universe, and you are the universe, and you are the medicine, and that goes back to you are the medicine, right? Something that I feel like is really important to add, if I may, is that we work with people who are working with pharmaceutical. Okay.
Mhm.
We don't want to gatekeep, if it's safe, we won't gatekeep it. There are some people who, we all know that pharmaceuticals can blunt psilocybin, but we've also found anecdotally is that there's a certain portion of the population that actually do really well on both. Because the psilocybin being the non-specific amplifier can be really overwhelming to people with really, really deep CPTSD, right? And they might need um, chemical assistance in coping with what the mushrooms bring up. Now, this is a small portion of the population. Um, I hope to live in a world where we try this modality before we try that modality. Because, once you're in that modality, it's very hard to get off. It's hard. And sometimes for some people, almost impossible. And teaching our children to trust their bodies from the beginning will be the thing that will keep them off of these chemicals. Life has a lot to throw at, and we're doing the best we can, every single one of us. So there's no judgment. There's no judgment on how you go about holding your mental health.
I love it. Thank you so much, Rome. It's so beautiful to get to connect in this way
Thank
and to have this conversation. And what an incredible avenue and resource for our listeners, Mycology Psychology. So I'm excited to get to share this episode with our community. And yeah, I can't recommend the work that you guys are doing enough. It's so important and so accessible. And so I really am really happy to have this connection made. And just want to thank you so much for your time and for this opportunity. And before we go, I just want to open the space for you. If you have any final words or message that you want to share, anything else that you feel would be important for those who have tuned into this show to know about mushrooms, about mycology psychology, about yourself, the space is yours, and I just want to thank you so much for this time.
Yeah, I'd love to announce that we're launching our second cohort of our microdosing practitioner training course. It's called the Holonic Practitioner. Um, and if you are a space holder of any kind already, and are working with people, then you're a good candidate for it to add this to your toolbox. There's an optional retreat in Colorado that we're doing. So really bringing into physical community. I call it squares to circles because when we're on Zoom, we're in squares, but when we're in community, we're in circles.
Hmm.
Um, and then our Go the Gathering call, the second Saturday of every month, we've had people who don't feel comfortable in communities say that they feel comfortable in that one because there's not an expectation. Um, it's not performative, and I'm not saying other spaces are, but I just know what our space looks like and what it's not. It's extremely safe and has this vibration of love and authenticity, and I'm really, 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 really proud of it. And I guess some other stuff that I would just throw out there is, no one can take your dharma away from you. Do no harm, take no shit. Let's be kind to each other in this community. Let's drop the judgments. I see some of that and it makes me genuinely sad. We're all helping people in different ways. It doesn't have to look like one way. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be here with you. I love working and speaking with women in psychedelics, and I love my brothers as well. But it just opens up my heart because I had a lot of work to do around my internal misogyny in a patriarchal society. And this is just like such a really beautiful, fluffy chapter for me, and it makes me super happy. And thank you for asking me. It's been really, really delightful.
Yay. Thank you. Blessings to everyone listening. On behalf of the Four Visions family, we want to thank you for listening to our podcast. We hope you have enjoyed this conversation and have gained seeds of wisdom that will nourish your spiritual path. If you have a moment, please leave us a review, as this helps us to reach more people. For more resources and information about the plant path, and for the highest quality spiritual tools and botanicals, please visit us at fourvisions.com. We are grateful for your support and look forward to continuing this journey with you all. Until next time.